What's going on? Happy
What's
Sunday.
going on?
Happy Sunday, fun day, fuckers.
That's right. Sunday
So-
fun day.
Sunday, fun day.
I used to
So
fucking
how-
have a lot of fun on Sunday.
How did you guys enjoy the computer outage and banks going down and the world chaos and planes not flying? And
It was Y2K like 20 years late, right? 24 years late.
pretty much.
I felt nothing here in East Tennessee. It was business as usual.
It just
Yeah, we
shows
had nothing.
how fragile the whole system, that it easily can go down.
And
And
Microsoft.
it wasn't just United States; it was global.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, panic is
Over
all
a download.
trying to make people panic.
It did a great job. People were panicking. Government systems weren't functioning. Banks weren't allowing people to get money. So it was like from an outsider's point of view, because it didn't affect me. I was at work, and construction doesn't rely on any of that stuff. So it was entertaining to watch everybody panic.
Yeah, we weren't able to enter new bookings. We weren't allowed, discharge inmates. We weren't allowed to get new inmates in. The courts were down. But it happened. So what was weird though is that, like, I'd say 85% of the computers were down at the jail. Just so fucking happened that my computer worked. So I had to do all the fucking work that was coming in. And I'm like, this is some bullshit. So I had to do all the entering and moving and all that shit. But the jail was almost on standstill. I mean, so
I call that karma for being the weakest winner in 15 minutes of lame history ever.
whatever. You know what?
You're not doing anything with that, so you might as well get something.
You're right. Weaker. I did sweep you.
You did sweep everyone.
You have the prettiest blue eyes I've ever seen. I just want you to know. Like, was that face shaved and those pretty blue eyes? Like, if you had some,
I destroyed my face. I destroyed my face last night.
about 6 years.
My buzzer went. It must have got that download. I was like, and I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to shave this shit. It sucked.
So,
You have a pretty busy face.
did you guys watch the Fat Man's episode with Brian Rivera, the first one?
Yes.
We did not.
You did not. You're gonna fucking lose 15 minutes of lame. Well, anyways, Brian said that I called them old guys, and he said he looked younger than me.
He does look younger than you.
He does not look younger than me.
If he shaved his beard, he looked younger than you.
What? Look at this gorgeous face. And he's fucking 30 pounds heavier than me, and I'm 6 foot.
Doesn't mean anything.
I'm 6'4". He's fucking 5'2".
Are you
So-
fat shaming?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
No, I'm not fat shaming. I'm
Fat
saying
shaming because
he's
you're
not
fat too.
older than me. His Puerto Rican heritage or whatever is not that much on the age complex. He's not
You,
younger than me.
my friend, are fat just as much as he is.
I know I'm fat, but I am not fucking 300 pounds at 5'11".
We could always get him to, if he wants to shave, do a side by side. How
Might
old
have
is
to throw
Brian?
up a comparison pic.
And also, I'm just throwing this out there. If you've traveled the fucking world 3 times, then come talk to me about age. Have you
Stop
ever?
it.
Have you
You
ever been
can't
blown
throw
up?
that on somebody.
Well,
Stop.
I
You're
can.
reaching,
Oh,
man.
I
You're
can.
reaching.
Have you ever been blown up, Paul? Yeah. Chris, I'm not going to ask you that question.
I have never been blown up.
Have you ever been shot at?
Blown up or blown?
I'm
Shot
glad
at-
he was in the
shot at,
Bronx. He might have been shot at twice.
Stabbed, yes.
You are in New York, so
It's a little different, but you guys have never been in a hostile environment getting paid to shoot people in the face.
I've been in hostile environments.
like
I've been
you.
around a lot of women in my life.
There's
It's
nothing
pretty hot.
hostile about Canada.
well, I don't know. There's been a lot of hostility up there lately.
We're not going to talk about women drama in the reptile industry. I just don't have the time nor the patience.
I'm off my soapbox, so I'm tired of fucking with Brian. So I just want him to know that I love him and his little friggin' skunky looking thing that he's got here. You can't even call it a beard. It's not really a beard. It's
You're talking about his beard, and you got a comb over.
because I have hair.
It don't matter. Shut up.
I love you. You know, the thing about the Americans, everyone's got a different accent. It's great. It's like, it's beautiful.
Whatever.
Spell my name right, Tennessee Constrictors, you fucking fuck.
No, it's not Tennessee Constrictor. He spelled it wrong. Oh, yeah, he spelled it wrong too. I hope they're doing it on purpose now.
He is, because he knows me. That's
okay.
Yeah, we know each other.
Anything fun or good happen this week before we go on to something a little more entertaining that people actually came to see?
We went and watched the Twisters movie.
Okay.
Was it good?
Fucking, I give it a 8.5 out of 10. It was
Come
good.
on. The first one sucked.
What? No, the first one was epic.
The first one was good.
Right,
Paul.
now I know how you grade movies.
Look, I give this the only issue I have, and this is a nostalgia aspect, is that they didn't really incorporate the first movie into the second movie. Like none of the other actors showed up, but this one was the CGI was way better. The fucking acting was way better. It was a good movie.
Yeah. He's dead. Facts.
Well, she's not.
Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
You guys realize
one of those Blackstone griddles.
You guys are realizing you guys are complaining about a movie that was made like 25 years ago and comparing it to a movie that was made this year and saying it's better. Well, better. It's 25 years newer. Just throwing that out there. I'm not like apples and oranges. You're not really comparing the same fucking shit.
100%.
It was a good fucking movie, Gerald. Stop.
Good.
Cobra Kai.
Anyways.
Paul's a cunt. Fuck him.
This is a pretty special episode for us. We're having somebody I actually
don't say
admire.
that.
Easy.
He's what? I can't say I think he's good.
We admire everybody that comes on this show.
Of course,
Gerald.
Where's your Canadian niceties? You're being too nice now, and then you're leaving out all the other people that we've had on here. All the previous.
This is going to be the only doctor we put on the show.
Yet.
Doctor. And
Doctor.
You guys are mean. No matter what I'm saying, you guys are going to ride me. Before we get to him, now, let's do our. I think it's Paul's turn again because he missed a show because he was a dink.
What?
I agree.
I did it last week.
Yeah,
you missed the show.
You got to make up for the week.
So show love. Show love.
The Pink Monster. Sammy is in the house. Arvin, Game of Odds, love it. Second. Oh, now we got another second. We got a fight going on. B&T. Brian and Holly. Spell Jared's name right, Brian. Will is dumb.
He changed the logo.
Hello, William. Yes, finally. Jen, how are you? Thank you for showing up.
Fat man picks on him about his mic.
Charlie. Go to
Shauna, you gotta slow down. He reads really fucking slow. Jesus.
Yes, holy cow.
Slow down, Shauna. Shit.
Jesus Christ. I already said low life. Thank you for showing up, low life. Now she did. 319. What's going on? Thank you for showing up. Wow, Crystal, hello. How are you? Dwight, the pie man. What is going on? And how are you?
And Ring, what's up?
And Ring.
Mama.
I like this guy a lot. Tennessee.
Don't even fucking recognize
Tennessee Constrictors.
Don't even
Jared's a loser. All right.
So back to the.
Hold on. We got Steven. There he is.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
Now he's too nice. He's nicer than I think most Canadians. Back to what we're supposed to be here for. We do have Patrick Macknight of Chimera in the house. He was the original. He's the actual OG. He was. I'll just show you this. He was the first ever episode of the Snakes and the Fat Man when they did the 15 Minutes of Lame. He's that OG. So yeah, see, back McKnight Stables.
Look at that.
I bet you he even still has that damn snake. Anyways, he was one of the OGs. He's gonna tell us how he's done and where he's gone and what's gone on. So let's, if Shauna can you play the intro and invite?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Snakes and the Batman proudly brings to you its new breeder segment, 15 Minutes of Lame!
Oh man, that brings back some memories.
Right?
How's everybody doing tonight?
We're great. Yourself?
Oh man, I'm living the dream, guys. I'm living the dream. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime somebody says
Appreciate
they're
you.
living the dream, they're fucking lying.
Here's the deal, right? When somebody says they're living the dream, they're not specifying whether it's a good or a bad dream, right? It could be a good dream. It could be a fucking nightmare. Who knows?
It may be somebody else's dream, just not necessarily yours.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't actually know when I started saying that, but at this point, I feel like I've been saying it for so long that it's habit now. Maybe I need to fix that. I need to find something else. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's where we're at
It's the
now.
most common.
So
It's the most common answer that everybody gives. It's
Yeah,
the dream.
probably. Yeah.
So, fun fact to this,
Fun
I found this out about a week ago, and I've been kind of, laughing at it every time I hear about it. Do any of you know what Patrick's favorite animal is?
oh,
And it's
boy.
not a hard question. It's based on what you know. What do you think his favorite animal is?
A chipmunk.
Well, obviously, I mean, the most obvious answer you would assume that it would be snakes, but no, I'm sure it's not.
No, not even close.
Not even close.
Kangaroo.
Oh, no, it's still reptilian. It's still reptilian for sure.
Your wife.
Oof, she is an animal, but I don't know if she's my favorite. We'll be honest. She's more of a monster if we're being real, but that's she won't listen, so we're good. Oh,
Will tell he said turtles. That's
yeah. Tortoises. I would give up every snake in a heartbeat if I could breed tortoises for a living. God, they're just so much better. Even though they like destroy my shit constantly, I just love them. It's weird. I don't know.
legitimately destroyed your shit. Look at
Yeah,
it.
literally. Like they just destroy everything, rip the toilet out of the floor.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
That
regularly.
legit is his tortoise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, mega turtle. Fuck that dude. Oh God. You know that picture. So that picture. I took the picture. So we get home and we were looking through the house and we're like, where the fuck are the tortoises? And my wife goes down the hall and then I just hear her yell like Patrick, and I'm like, fuck. So I go down there and that's what I see. And I immediately take a picture because that's the responsible thing to do. I post it on Instagram, and then probably 4 or 5 days later, a friend messages me and he's like, pretty cool to see my friend's pet on the front page of Reddit. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, go to Reddit right now. And one of the like hot sub forums was like tortoise damage or whatever, something stupid like that. And my fucking picture had like 20 million likes or something stupid. And I'm like, what has happened here? And then you start watching, and now of course that picture just pops up all over the internet constantly. And I'm just like, cool. I'm so happy that is 100% the most famous thing I've ever done in my life. And literally no one knows it was me, my company, or my tortoise. So great. That's how you market, boys. That's how you market.
There it is.
So, Patrick, it's been 4 years since you're on 15 Minutes of Lame.
Fuck. Okay.
Just to show you where you've come and where you've been.
Okay.
it's been 4 years. What has changed in your business aspects? Like I'm trying to get this question correct.
Yeah.
You were already being somewhat successful then. That's
Yeah.
why Batman brought you on, and he thought he saw some actually good things coming out of you, and said, "Okay, this guy's going to be in the hobby. Let me bring him on because he's not going to be gone in 5 minutes."
Yeah.
What do you still have left to achieve in your 5-year goal, or do you think you've already hit it?
I think, man, I'm trying to think back to what I told Chris I was going to be doing in 5 years. And I feel like it's probably pretty close to that, to be honest. I mean, there's obviously things I didn't anticipate merging with Andre and creating Chimera, right? I anticipated still being Macknight Staples. The collection was on an appropriate, growth curve for me. I was buying the animals I needed, selling stuff, all of that was normal. The merger, I think, expedited everything, because then it kind of turned into, I got to bring the best of Andre's collection and mix it with the best of my collection. And then, we got to share the workload. And so the things that I suck at, he's good at, and things that he sucks at, I'm good at. And so it really helped us really fill in the gaps that we both desperately needed. So we're probably way ahead of where I would have thought 5 years ago where we would be at, just because of the merger. Honestly, I think the merger was a big leap forward for us.
So I got a question here for you, as probably our first millionaire that's ever been on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that ball pythons they've run their course? Like, can you still be a millionaire bringing ball pythons? And then, if so, this is a 2-part question. If so, if you think that, then what route should people go to what's the word, to really reach that peak?
Yeah. So we'll talk about the first part. Has it run its course? No, absolutely not. If it had run its course, I wouldn't have just spent nearly $300,000 on property to put up a new facility, right? So I like to tell people when we do like consulting stuff, or I just talk to customers who ask similar questions, I put my money where my mouth is. Honestly, if the industry has run its course, then I'm going down with all of you guys. I mean, we're all going down together, because I'm putting, Andre and I constantly reinvest money back into our business. So it's not like we sell a snake and we pocket every penny and, we're just hoping for the best. The industry has always gone, through ups and downs. We had a period with COVID where everything became hyperinflated. And I know a lot of breeders came in when they saw that. And there's a lot of those breeders specifically right now that are like, oh, the market's crashing. And it's like, well, if you look at pricing pre-COVID, it's actually pretty similar to where it was. Fireball posted a wholesale lot of Desert Ghost females the other day for like 10 for $2,000. And I know people were in an uproar like, oh my God, $200 for a Desert Ghost female hatchling. And I was like, guys, literally 3 years before COVID, I could get the exact same deal. Like, this is not abnormal. We just had a hyperinflation period. So no, I don't think the market's dead. You have to adjust with the times. You have to put effort in now. During COVID, if you even mentioned you bred snakes, all of a sudden the whole clutch sold. So things were spectacular then. So yeah, I think there's that. And then as far as what you should do, I think that question varies a lot based on how much actual money you have to invest and your time frame of the business. If you're somebody that can come in and invest a lot of money and doesn't have to see a return for 3-5 years, that's where I would say, buy a decent amount of, mid-range females, wait a year or so, buy some high-end males and kind of go that route. That's probably the most cost-efficient way to do it. It's a lot more long-term, but you'll probably have the lowest investment, quote unquote, to get the most return. If you have to have a return right away and you're trying to start with 10 grand, I would tell you don't buy a breeder female for a long time. Don't buy anything to breed for a while. Go connect with a large, breeder that has wholesale stuff and just flip snakes. Bring them into your facility, make sure they're healthy, make sure they're eating. And once you're confident in their health and they're eating, then sell them. And do it that way. you're going to be able to have a much more steady income over the year because you're not going to have these 1 or 2 cycles where you have a bunch of eggs. And so you'll have income throughout the year, and you'll be able to parlay that income as you make it into nicer animals, and then maybe you start buying from there. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing, really.
You just said a trigger word there for a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. Flipper. Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Flip is a trigger word for a lot of people. So
yeah.
can you go a little more in depth on that? And
Yeah. So I'm not going to call out any breeders here, but there are very, very well-known breeders that started their career reselling animals, flipping, quote unquote. There are very ethical ways to do it, and there are very shitty ways to do it. If you're just going out and buying everybody's garbage and selling it instantaneously, that's probably the worst way to do it, because most likely you're going to end up selling some unhealthy snakes that don't eat, just problem issue animals, and you're going to get a bad reputation and you're going to hurt the customer. When I talk about resale, I mean, find a trusted breeder that is producing good quality animals that we know are healthy, that we know are eating, and purchase their byproduct. You know, the animals that are under $500 that maybe you can go to and be like, hey, I got $5,000. I'll take, $5,000 worth of your animals that are worth under 500 for like 50% off or something, whatever that number is that you can negotiate. And just understand there's a risk there. You got to move them before the value drops there, but you're getting good, healthy animals, and then keep them in, racks, whatever, for a month or two to make sure that they're actually healthy, that they're actually eating, be confident in the genes they have. Cause that's the other thing too. You got to really trust that the genetics are correct. And then go from there. So I think that's more of the ethical side for me. I realize like people get real uppity on it, but at the end of the day, like, aren't like 98% of all pet stores flippers, quote unquote? I mean, they're just buying wholesale animals. So
maybe flipping should not be the negative word that it is.
Yeah, it's
done responsibly.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. I mean, you understand, like, before I did snakes, I did collectibles like Pokemon cards and basketball cards and sports cards in general. And that's basically the entirety of that industry is flipping. And so when I first came into snakes, and flipping or reselling was looked at as this, demonized, it was very weird to me initially. And I was just like, that doesn't make sense. Like, as long as you're doing it properly and you're guaranteeing the product and you're taking care of somebody, you're offering a good service, because at the end of the day, these animals from big breeders that the wholesalers are buying, those probably are going to actually end up in like Petco's or, other pet shops that not everybody has access to. And so I think there is a service and there is a point to have them there. So anyway,
Josh from Tennessee Constrictors brings up a good point about diversification.
Yeah.
Do you think that diversification is necessary for a high level breeder or just a breeder to be to have success in this hobby?
I mean,
or if you're starting out with something like ball pythons or cresteds, which are overrun,
there's a lot. Yeah,
we agree to that. Diversification, do you feel is necessary to bring the attention to your table?
I don't think it's necessary. It also depends on like what you're wanting to do and like what level you're working at. If you're producing low end ball pythons, animals that are sub $300, you're probably not going to stand out at shows when you're going to vend and things like that. So maybe then, you're going to want to have other species that maybe can help you stand out. But that kind of goes to my thing. If you're producing only $300 ball pythons, I would argue you probably shouldn't be breeding ball pythons. You should be that person that's buying from a reputable breeder and helping them resell. I wouldn't breed ball pythons at that, price point, because I think it's a losing cause, honestly. I don't think it hurts having other species. We basically are almost exclusively ball pythons. We have hognoses because I got them as a pet. Originally, I got one from Tom Harbin 5 years ago or whatever. As a pet, and then I ended up buying a male because you can't have a female and not breed it, obviously.
Rest in peace, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, God. And then and that's kind of expanded quite a bit, but we've listed one hognose on Morph Market ever. So Justin, what's that? Yeah, it did sell. Yeah, it did sell. Yeah. Justin, as far as I know, has never listed another species on Morph Market. I mean, one or two maybe of some random, pet project he has going, but it's all ball pythons. I think you can be very successful. I mean, I know you can be successful with one species. It just depends on how you go about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So there's a hot topic was actually talked about in one of the other podcasts this week.
Mhm.
They have the belief where no animal should be sold as possible hets, 66% hets. They should all be either hets or not because of the new genetic testings that are available. Do you think that's a realistic thing, especially for a breeder of, let's say, your size, or do you sell it as a, hey, buy it? It's you might win. It's a bonus gene.
Yeah, so more or less, and I'm not going to say 100% of the time because I know animals slip through the crack in our collection, but more or less when we hatch out an animal, if it is visual for recessive and then pos het for any other recessive, it's tested, whether it's male or female.
Okay.
If it's double het for something, 99% of the time the females are tested and the males are not tested. So if it is a situation where the male is slightly better than wholesale, but spending the $40 or $50 to test it doesn't make sense because maybe that animal is like $200 as a double het, and I could wholesale it. Maybe say I could wholesale it for 100 or whatever that number is. If the math doesn't make sense to test it, I'm just going to list it as a pos het and see what happens. That happens occasionally with some of the visual males as well, or I guess occasionally with the females too, where the price between the double recessive or the visual recessive pos het versus the visual recessive het isn't a big enough price difference to justify the test. Like we might toss it up there and just be like, good luck, YOLO. The other thing too is we'll list animals before testing gets back sometimes. So people, if you look at some of our animals that are listed, the genetics may change within 2 or 3 weeks of them being listed because we throw it up there for a reasonable price, the intermediate price, like we used to do with pos hets, where you're like, the animal's worth 500 as a het and 300 as a pos het, or as not a het, we'll list it for $400 and you might get a deal, you might not, you kind of take that gamble.
Yeah.
And if you wait long enough, strong chance results are going to come back on that animal and you're going to find out one way or another. So yeah, I think it's okay to list. I mean, I think it's reasonable to list pos hets. Not everybody also believes the test too. So I understand why some pos hets get listed. So
your answer is about what I thought it would be. Billy actually refuses to do pos hets. He says he puts them all out as possible hets. He's like, unless I'm genetically testing it because I might keep it, or it's a huge number difference, he doesn't do it. So
yeah,
that's actually what I thought you'd say.
Even Justin Kabilka has come out and said that, he can't test everything, right? And then there's some things that he has produced that had genes in it that if it's not going to sell, he doesn't list it, aka Blade. Right, he's bred a lot of friggin' clown stuff that's had Blade in it, but he never lists Blade in it because he knows that Blade is a downturn.
Yeah, I feel confident saying we don't normally do stuff. If I know a gene or feel confident a gene is in there, I'm probably going to list it as that. If I'm not confident, generally leave it off. I fall more on that side where if I see an animal and honestly, like at this point, we haven't tracked Blade as, for example, we haven't tracked Blade in our collection in Andre or Eyes for probably a decade. I know it's in there and I'm sure that some of the slightly reduced clowns we have are Blade, but it's been so long since I've tracked the lineage that I don't even put it in our notes anymore. Right. So maybe unintentionally we are doing something like that where if I see a reduced clown, I'm like, oh, that might be Blade, but we don't list it as such because I haven't tracked it for so long. I don't know if it's just that, or maybe it's just something else that's reducing it. There's lots of random genes that just kind of float in all of our collections that are modifiers and enhancers and other things. And so to just be like, oh, well, that clown is slightly reduced, it's definitely Blade. I don't really do that either, So if you don't feel confident or haven't consistently produced it, I'm probably not going to call out Blade or something like that. So
I
yeah,
think unfortunately for like a newer breeder, that's really hard to deal with because
yeah,
a newer breeder, and I know that I was this way my first 3, 4, 5. I'm probably still this way. I'm just going to be honest that I get a clutch and I see something that is not there. There's more. There's more to this. That does not look just like a pastel Mojave. That is more than a Pastavi. What the fuck is it? It's got to be, it's head something, or it's head influence, or it's this. So, and I know we're all the same way. We see something, and we always want to. We always want to see the next best thing. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately,
It's called reaching.
Yeah, it's funny. Andre would probably tell you I'm the opposite. I'm generally Debbie Downer when we're cutting clutches, and he's like, "Oh, it might be this or this." I'm like, "No, it's not. No, it's not."
You wouldn't expect the worst. Hope for the best.
Dude, I think grad school set me up for that one. They're like, if you keep your expectations low, you can't be disappointed.
That's all right.
But yeah, no, I'm there with you. There's definitely been times you're cutting the clutch, and you're like, "Oh my god, I think this is it," and then like comes out, and you're like, "This is not it. That is now I'm sad." And it's still a cool animal, but now I'm sad. So yeah, dude, I think that's just a ball python thing, right? They're like, do you see this dot underneath its eye? That means that it's quadruple heptahet for awesome. Okay, so let me tell you, you're like, all right, dude, that's great. I love it. Go for it. Let me know how that works out.
So would you say one of the things that you've learned is managing expectations?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if that was specifically from ball python. I think a lot of what I learned in grad school, ironically, didn't help me a lot in science, and it's helped me a lot in running businesses. And a big part of that was like time management, managing expectations, managing people, like stuff like that. Yeah, I think you need to be realistic too. A lot of people come into the industry and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to take $100,000. I'm going to be a millionaire next year," and it's like, nah, not so much. You're gonna take $100,000.
I think we've all felt that.
It's like, you're gonna take $100,000. You're gonna wait 5 years and maybe have 500. Maybe if things go really well. More likely than not, you're gonna take 100 and you're gonna have 25 tomorrow. But it's neither here nor there. Yeah, I think managing expectations and being realistic is and patience. I think those all go hand in hand together in our industry. So.
Learned so much patience in this.
It's
yeah,
not like selling pot, right? Like back in the fucking early 2000s, you're selling pots. A 20 will get you this.
That's it, man. Yeah, Justin and I were talking, I don't know, a few months back, and I made some comment. I sent him a picture of a snake, and we were kind of, going back and forth on what we thought it might be in it. And then I just messaged him and I said, I miss the good old days when I just had to pair a pied to a pied or a clown to a clown. And I knew it was coming out of these animals. And he's like, well, weren't those simpler times? I was like, yes, they were. Oh, man, those were good days.
I am 100% not trying to steal anybody else's comments or questions. But that leads me into another one.
Perfect.
Do you think that breeding all of the recessive traits together, like they did with the co-dominant traits early on, has hindered or affected the price point of ball pythons and made it harder to sell?
I think progression in general is going to hinder price points and make things harder to sell, right? I mean, like if we start with like the early, the late 2000s, early 2010s, right? Like everybody was hammering away at incomplete dominant animals, and you saw, incredible price drops within, 2-3 year periods of time, right? You have bananas and GHIs that are $20,000, and within 6 months they're 10,000, and a year later they're 5, whatever, right? And you see those big drops. Yeah, you're going to see that. I believe with any project you have in ball pythons, it doesn't matter what it is. We're just at a point now where recessive's been hammered for probably 10, 15 years, right? People have been working towards this stuff. And so now we're starting to really see the drop. And then you have genetic testing to where that just accelerates everything, where we don't have to hold back everything and then pair a posset male to a bunch of posset females and hope really that the male proves out, because that's the important, part of that puzzle. And if it doesn't, then now you've got other holdbacks and you're set back 2-3 years potentially. Now it's test the whole clutch. You hold on to 1 or 2 males that are actually het, and then you start hammering those. Example, in our collection, we paired a sunset, what was it? It was a sunset hypo to a butter spot nose pos het puzzle. The whole idea was to make sunset hypo or triple het sunset hypo puzzles. That was the goal. So we were going to genetic test for puzzles. In the past, you do that pairing and you have to hold back all of the females and all of the males, basically, because you don't know which ones actually are het puzzle or aren't. Well, turned out that female actually was het puzzle, which was cool. She was also het hypo, which was a nice little bonus. But then, we genetic test. Yeah, it turned out great. Like hypos start popping out. I was like, yes. Hit the lottery there, right? But then I was able to go through and we genetic test everything for puzzle at that point. We hold on to the 2 or 3 het puzzle females we got, and then we're able to sell the other stuff. And then the males that came out of that clutch that we didn't hold back, that were hypo double het sunset puzzles, we could sell those as well and get a lot more value. All of that happened because of genetic testing, and that leapfrogs us, right? Because now I know I have 3 or 4 females in the rack that are perfect. I know I have 2 males in the rack that both are hypo double hets. So I don't have to guess and hope which one is which and mix and match properly. I just know right off the bat what I'm getting. Right. So it's going to save a lot of time there for sure.
So your cheat code basically in your business is you're a numbers and data guy. So that's really the way you're playing the system is it's like counting cards. You're saying, and it's a joke, but like it's literally what you do is you take all the numbers, all the data, and say, okay, this is what's running through. This is what the sales projections are. This is what people are looking at, and you use that, correct?
Yeah. So Chris asked a question on 15 Minutes of Lame. Pretty sure he still does, and it's always the why should somebody buy from you? And I always hated that question when it got asked to me because I thought it was a bad question. Not because Chris asked bad questions or like it's inherently a bad question. I just think for new breeders, it's basically impossible to answer because really at the end of the day, the actual answer is because I have the snake you want at the price you want. That's why you should buy from me. Most of us have similar bloodlines at this point. Like more likely than not, the snake that, the clown combo that I produce is going to be the same quality as the one that Justin does or, JT does or whoever. Because all of our animals have just been intermixed so much. You can have some high quality stuff and that's not a question, but you more or less, right? It's all the same quality. So the answer to me always was like, well, I have the snake you want at the price you want and it's healthy and everything else. What I always thought was the better question was like, what is going to make you successful as a ball python breeder, or what makes you successful? And for us, it's what you said. It's the back end side for us. We're very numbers driven. We don't try and force the market. We go with the market because I don't think nobody on our scale, honestly, nobody at a scale where who they are is able to affect the market. There are large scale ball python breeders that are producing 25 to 30,000 hatchlings a year that nobody knows their names. Those are the guys that affect the markets. We realistically don't. And so at the end of the day, like I can try and influence stuff and I can try and help drive a project in the right direction, but we just have to follow the data most of the time. So yeah, we spend a ton of time going through Morph Market, looking at pricing analysis, looking at listed, sold, time that it sits on the market, who's doing it to try and help guide our pricing. We also look at when we list an animal, how many inquiries do we get per day? What kind of interactions do we get? How quickly does it sell? We also look at just how many inquiries we get from customers in general per day. We also run a good amount of auctions at this point, which have been really great for getting data. And what we found is like a significant amount of the time on some of the lower end animals, we end up getting more money on the auction than we do when we actually list them just regularly. It's like we'll have a snake. We had a couple of snakes a few weeks ago where they were listed on the site for like $500 or $600 and they sold for almost $1,000. And you're like, what just happened? And we use all of that as like pricing stuff. And it's like maybe animals like that where we see a tendency for those projects to sell more in auctions than they do just on Morph Market. Maybe that's something we need to advertise more, right? Make sure those animals hit our Instagram ads more frequently, so that it's just maybe it's just a people thing. Maybe people aren't looking for that morph specifically, but it's a really eye-catching or appealing morph that when people see it, they're like, oh, I should probably pick that up. And so that's when we're like, okay, let's worry less about just having it listed, more like let's advertise it a bit and see what happens. So yeah, anyway, long answer to say, yeah, we're very data driven.
Awesome.
Chris, what do you got?
I'm kind of curious because I have been seeing a lot of your auctions going up lately. Is there like a certain strategy behind which animals go up? Are you just kind of throwing it out there?
Yeah, no. There's definitely a strategy. So basically everything we're going to auction is byproduct from clutches that we've had, and the reason for that is you're going to notice a lot of clown pieds, a lot of hypo clown pieds, a lot of hypopieds, things like that. These are all animals that are byproduct that either didn't test positive for all the recessives we needed from them, or we didn't have the genes we needed, things like that. And they're animals, generally speaking, that are going to be like sub $1,000. I don't want to say never, but more often than not, an animal that we list on auction is not going to be over $1,000. And that's just a personal preference. I don't think there's a right, wrong way to do that. That's just what we do. What we found with auctions when we're doing them, we're getting between 75 and 85% of value on like retail value on those animals on average. If you really kind of start thinking about some of those, like we'll use clown pied males for an example. Clown pied males are a relatively tough sale right now because a lot of people have them. And so if my option is list at full retail, sit on that animal for 6 months, and hopefully get my asking price. Well, I've been feeding that thing and caring for it and had the employees take care of it for 6 months now. How much time and effort has gone into that animal when I can auction it and get, 80% of that value? You start doing the numbers and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm pretty close to where I should be. And, it's money now. And it's not an animal I have to worry about, for however long it takes to. So yeah, there's quite a bit of thought on the animals that do get put up for auction. And it's been a really good outlet for us. But yeah, a lot of it is the byproduct or stuff that normally might get wholesaled.
So I know you're.
Well, I was gonna go back to that the 15 minutes of lame, and how did you use that as a marketing tool? Did you use that how did it help you? Or was it just fun? Because
it was a lot. It's hard to quantify how helpful it was. I think anytime you get the chance to be on a platform like that, it's a positive. People are going to see you that didn't know you before. At the time, I definitely was not asking customers like, hey, where did you hear us? Where did you see us from? Like, where did you find this ad? So I can't quantify and tell you like, oh yeah, definitively, like no question about it, 15 Minutes of Lame helped me. I'm sure it did. That's a large audience. People at least knew who I was at that point, but I couldn't give you a definitive like, oh, 100% it helped. I know it was a good thing. I always have a blast hanging out with Chris, and it was an absolute blast. And I'm sure it did help. I just don't have a quantifiable number to tell you like, yeah, man, I jumped like 7,000 followers at that time. I already had a decent following. Mm-hmm. We were selling animals fairly consistently. And that was also right before COVID, if I remember right. So that all that data also gets really skewed then because, like I said, we would post an animal, just like a picture of a snake in my hand on Instagram, and I'd have 50 messages, and literally the whole clutch would be sold in 10 minutes. Like, it was stupid. I mean, I miss those days so much. We need another pandemic, like desperately. God, that'd be great. Sorry, can I say that out loud? I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, guys. We don't want a pandemic. Chimera does not want a pandemic. Wink, wink, China. Wink, wink.
That's a soundbite now.
Yeah, great.
I'm sure when Chris is doing the little soundbite, that's definitely gonna be part of it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it.
Also, how long ago did you start Patreon?
So we started a Patreon right when Chimera merged. We killed a Patreon about 6 months after that. Yeah, so here's the deal. So So when Andre and I merged, right, we have all these great ideas of how we're going to do this. And I was like, you know what? I don't feel like enough people are doing Patreon the right way. And I came up with this whole like a model of how we're going to do it. It was going to be the best, right? And we got sponsors to come in and they were going to give value to the patrons. And it was just going to be this great thing. And what I really realized very quickly was I absolutely hate making social media content. Like making videos and taking pictures constantly and everything I think you need to do for a Patreon. I really just was not on top of it. I really struggled with it. And so after about 6 months, I was like, I believe the people in this are getting value because they're still getting shipping discounts. They're still getting money towards animals if they want to buy them, you know, this and that. But I just didn't feel like I was giving them the content that warranted the money, right? And so Andre and I talked and we killed it. Now we have Molly, who, you know, for the most part, except for Sundays, it turns out, is really, really good at reaching out to me and making sure that I'm doing stuff. Speaking of which, she's currently mad at me because A, I ignored her phone calls today, and B, I was supposed to film a question and answer session today, and guess what didn't happen? That. So really on top of it still, guys. We're going to do a Patreon in the future again. We're going to do it properly this time, and I think better. But yeah, I think it's tough, man. I think for non-content creators, you got to really add a lot of value to justify it. You know, I understand, like for podcasts, right? You can have bonus episodes. You can also just have tiers where you're like, look, guys, like you're just helping support this thing, right? It costs money to host these shows. It costs money through lip sync. It costs money through StreamYard, whatever, to do this stuff. So you're just helping pay the bills and do a little bit of light advertising. I think that's a lot more reasonable ask than like an actual snake breeding company where it's like, hey, like we breed snakes and that's our living, but also like if you want to give me $5 a month just because I'm cool, like that's fine. Like that felt a little more awkward to me than like I'm giving y'all exclusive content you're not getting. You're getting egg cutting, you're getting advice, you know, yada yada yada. So anyway, yeah, we killed the Patreon and then we just opened our Discord up, and basically anybody that buys a snake gets a link to our Discord. Also, life hack, if you go to my Instagram, you also get a link. So, you know, life choices there.
I think I'm on your Discord. Yeah.
So yeah, you know, anyway, you can get in the Discord and it's free. And I probably should be more active in there, but you know, here we are. Content creation, not great at it, which is unfortunate because that's basically my job here. So here we are.
Speaking of money, super chat. If you guys do send any, all the proceeds are going to Susan B. Komen Race for the Cure for breast cancer. I was supposed to do that earlier, but like Patrick, I'm not very good at doing my job. So
I love it. Give me like half a second. My laptop all of a sudden went from like 30 to 0%. I'm going to grab a charger. Y'all talk so much yourself. This is super professional on me. I apologize.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I was supposed to do that. And all the info is still streaming on all the Fat Man's iTunes and all that. Your favorite app? Leviathan. What are they writing here?
Yeah, you're missing out, Steven. All the cool kids hang out.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lamest does not have the following that the Fat Man does.
He's
Perfect.
talking to himself in that chat.
Yeah. Crisis averted, guys. Crisis averted.
All right.
Whew, sorry, guys. I started this and I was like, all right, I'm at like 90%. We're going to be golden. And turns out we were not. So thank you,
your
Apple.
computer's
Appreciate
old
that.
is what that tells us.
Okay, so honestly, no, it is like a brand new like MacBook Pro, and here we are. So anyway,
That's not an advertising thing for MacBook, by the way.
No, it's absolutely not. I bought this to do data analysis for the university. I say I bought it. The university bought it for me to do data analysis. Otherwise, yeah, I would not spend this kind of money on a laptop. That's no, thank you. So anyway.
I'm super excited about talking about you bought the new property. You're getting it shortly, soon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's the timeline? What's the plan? I know originally, I think a year and a half ago, you were talking about within 5 years. What's your timeline looking like now?
Yeah, so when we first talked about the merger and like what our plans were, things shifted pretty dramatically. So initially we merged, we were about to put up a new building, and things just fell through with the contractor. Like things got obscenely expensive very quickly, and like timelines changed. And so all of a sudden it went from we could spend X amount of dollars on a building, or we could spend X amount of dollars on animals, and that is way more fun. So we were like, we can deal with the space we have for a couple of years and then expand in the future, buy a bunch of really cool males and just go with that. So I did what I think was the responsible thing, clearly, and we bought a bunch of really cool males. Unfortunately, now we're at the awkward space where we don't have space for everything anymore, and we needed to grow. So we had been hunting for land for quite some time and just hadn't found what really worked. And honestly, we were in the process of getting some commercial space, which is I hated, but it was going to be a necessity because we just needed the space. And kind of last minute, Andre emails me a listing of this old dilapidated house on like 3 acres with a 2,000 square foot, like brand new 2,000 square foot slab with a building on it, and then a house. And he was like, hey, this thing is like crazy cheap. We should go look at it. We went and looked at it, put an offer in, and it was accepted, the next day. And so it was like very serendipitous. So we're, I guess, technically a couple of years behind on having the building itself. At this point, we close officially on Friday. We're going to start moving in on Monday, and then we'll use the house, which is livable. It's just not in the best condition, but we'll use the house initially for holdbacks and, hatchlings and shipping and all of that stuff. And over the next year, we're going to really like remodel and work on and make the big 2,000 square foot building like pristine and perfect for everything we want. And then we'll slowly bring over breeder females in waves so that we don't see too much of a disruption in the breeding cycle. So we don't want something where we bring over 800 females and all of a sudden, we are only going to get like 200 clutches out of those 800. Like that would just be devastating at this size. Like to cut production, income and all that would be rough. So if we can bring them over in waves to where we're not seeing that big of a disruption, it's doable. And so that's just what we're going to do for now. So I hope and expect all females to be moved into the new facility within 1.5 years, 2 years. It's really just going to depend on like follicles, what they've done, where they've laid, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not a short term getting everything moved over, but I'd be willing to bet within a year, 80+% of everything will be moved over.
So when you have a merger like that, on the scale that you guys did, it obviously takes a lot of trust, and you guys have had to have really got to know each other before you did this. Other than Andre not being here to support you, and your Chimera empire together, kind of fucked up. And then I get it, it's cool, whatever.
He's actually a paid actor. All of this is a lie, but it's fine.
How can you explain what the process was like for you guys to go through a merger and kind of how you knew that this was the guy that you wanted to do business with, and then the pains and stuff of going through that?
Yeah, for sure. So Andre and I met in the back of a parking lot at a barbecue place in the middle of nowhere. Sounds like a good story for a love story.
That's fine.
Yeah, it sounds great.
It was a good start. I was buying a ball python from him. It was good. No, Andre and I met literally actually in the back of a parking lot for a snake deal. He pulled up in like a kidnapper van. It was great. Really loved it. We kind of connected right off the bat. It was kind of interesting. And maybe it's just like we're both very similar age, similar interest, all of that stuff. I don't know. He lived relatively close. So like right off the bat, we kind of clicked. And probably within a year, we were comfortable enough that we decided to do like a breeder loan project with each other. And, I sent some females to his place, and that worked out well. And then, he had some, posset sunset stuff that hadn't proven out. And I had a male. And so he's like, well, let's just do it, send it to your place and we'll see. And, some of those animals proved out, some didn't. And that was a big win. And so like we had done projects and stuff together for a little while, kind of like baby steps in. And then we started doing more business together. We were breeding and selling rats together. We were buying like large lots, when we would want to go and, some of our example, like our founding, like clown pied and hypopide stuff, we bought all of that in like, one big, like, $25,000, $30,000 lot at the time. And I didn't have that kind of cash right at the time. Andre didn't either. But like we were able to go to one of the big guys, and it was Steve Russis, who's like one of the largest ball python boosters on the planet. And basically, like, if you're not going to spend like $20,000+, he just doesn't talk to you. And so, like, when we were talking with him, he's like, "Look, guys, like, the deal's not big enough." And so then that's where I was like, "Andre, like, do you want some stuff? And like, how do we get this to where like we can get a good deal on this stuff? We just got to hit like the value point." And so, like, we were doing business like that together for a while. We were doing a lot of business together at that point. And so I was over at his house ultrasounding one day, and he was just kind of like, what would you think about like merging companies? And I was like, well, like, what are the pros and cons? And, we sat down, pros and cons. Then we went and we took the wives to dinner, and we were like, what do y'all think? And ironically, their biggest issue was they're like, how are y'all going to make decisions? Because you're both assholes. It's like, fair enough. And so like we really had to like, okay, well, we both are gonna, we're gonna have this, and then we'll have a third member that doesn't have ownership in the company, but they're a voting, party on the board. And so we had to come up with something like that. I don't know. I couldn't tell you how I knew Andre was the person I wanted to do business with. It just made sense at the time, like that's kind of like I did the math and I thought about what are my weaknesses, what are Andre's strengths, and how does that help me, and the same thing for him. Like, do I fill in gaps that he needs? And the answer was just kind of yes. And so then the next part was, if we merge collections, what's the overlap look like? Well, fortunately, Andre and I didn't have a ton of overlap in our collections either. There was a little bit, but not a ton. And so it just meshed together that way as well. And then at the end of the day, like, Andre's very introverted, as you probably can tell, and doesn't like to ever come on anything. And I am what they might call an attention whore. So it worked out well on that side. So as far as like pain points and like the struggle and the trust, like, yeah, I mean, all of it, just all of that. You have to really have faith in the other person, and you have to be willing to accept that just because you did something one way doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. Stuff as simple as like when you go to water your snake, do you fill the water cups up first and then put it in the tub, or do you just fill up the water in the tub as you go along, right? Like that's very minor and doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But if you have two people that are very strong-willed, that have two very different mindsets on how it should be done, somebody's got to give, right? You got to pick the battles that you're going to have. And so there's a lot of just learning what it honestly, it's a lot like a marriage, right? Like successful marriages, there's give and take, there's conversations that have to happen. Business partnerships are the exact same thing. You got to figure out what battles are worth fighting. And that's part of why we decided very early on, like, we need to have a third person that's unbiased, that is basically a voting member. So if there is a moment where Andre and I vehemently disagree on something and truly feel that there is no like working past it, the third person comes in and makes the vote, and you just go with it. And we both have agreed, like, that's just the way we go with it. So
It's just
a year and a
scary.
half.
That sounds scary. Like,
it's terrifying.
to be
Yeah.
honest, from my point of view, like, if I was to take Paul and me and Paul were to merge collections,
It would
and we were
close.
to become
It would go
business,
bankrupt.
it's terrifying, because me and Paul are not that much different, but we are. We're different in a lot of things, and it's not because it's Paul. It's because I can't let go of control, and that's
So
it's terrifying.
yeah, the control is the hard part. Andre and I both are very, we like to be in control. We like to run things. And that far and away was the hardest part. To be honest, like the first 6 months, I wasn't sure it was going to work. We were at it a lot. I never was at the point where I was like, we got to quit. I just wondered, like, deep down in my soul, right? Like, is this going to work? Like, this is a lot of stress, and man, the money's really got to be worth it, and so there was a little bit of time early on where I wondered, not like I said, not to where I was like, Andre, like, this isn't going to work. Like, it was none of that. It was more just like we would have an argument over something, and I'd be like, is this like, do I want to deal with this every day? And then you'd have the moment where I'd go and complain to my wife about it. And she's like, why are you being stupid? It doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, no, you're right, man. The control is hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
You've got to really do a lot of soul searching, and I believe more importantly, you got to be willing to like speak your truth. Like, I can tell you there were moments, one specific moment where like I felt like things had gone sideways, and we had the phone call and I was just like, I don't appreciate it, and it was like very uncomfortable for me, but like I felt like I wasn't being heard. And I know he's had that same feeling, right? We've had those conversations where you just got to be honest and just be like, hey man, this isn't working. How do we fix it? Mm-hmm. It's not like we're not going to fix it, I'm leaving. It's how do we fix it together to make this work? So
what you're saying is you don't just kick that guy out of the chat and then ghost him.
Ideally not, but maybe,
okay.
Whatever works for you.
I'm asking for a friend.
Whatever works for y'all. That hasn't been a system that worked well for Andre and I. I will say too, it helps with Andre and I that like when we get angry, we're not people that yell and scream and like say things out of anger. I can tell you when Andre's mad because he just gets quiet, and I'm the same way. Like, we just shut up. And I think that also has helped a lot because we just shut up, and then like a day later or 2 days later, we come back and we have an actual conversation. And I think that helps a lot too. I think you've got to have that kind of personality mesh, because if Andre was somebody that like was vocally angry and like anytime he got upset, he was like very vocal and yelled at me, it wouldn't have worked. And that's not what I'm here for. But if you're willing to like walk away for a minute and come back and we can have a conversation, then absolutely. So
right.
In the year and a half, have you had to use the tiebreaker very often?
No, not yet.
Good.
Yeah, not yet.
So that's good. You guys are able to work it all out.
Yeah. I think there was never like a conscious moment where I was like, this is what we should do, as much as it just kind of felt like we both kind of started taking on specific roles in the business and stopped fighting over the ones that the other person had taken, because at the end of the day, it was working.
It is like a marriage. It really is.
Yeah. And here, like, I'll give y'all some examples, right? The collection management initially, Andre did it one way, I did it a very different way. And there was some strife early on over like how we were going to do it. And after probably about a month, Andre just stopped bringing it up. And he stopped bringing it up, and I just kept doing what I was doing. And we talked about it later, and he was just kind of like, you're the one that's operating most of the back end stuff. You're using it day to day. It affects you more. He's like, so why would I be that worried? He's like, I was worrying about something that shouldn't matter to me because I'm not using it. And if it's easier for you to use, go for it. And, it ended up being a positive because now it's a system that we fully customize and we can do stuff with. The same way with like some of the animal care or some of the other stuff, the way we set up clutches. I set up clutches differently than the way Andre did. And it was one of the things where Andre felt very passionate. Like, this is how I feel comfortable doing it. And I was like, well, okay. Like, at first I was like, oh, I don't love this. But then I was like, well, Andre's produced thousands of animals and it's worked. It doesn't matter. Like, just calm down, man. Like, just let him do it. And so it's stuff like that. So yeah, it really is like a marriage, 100%.
It's very much like a folding the towel thing.
Yes. Is it the trifold or the square fold?
Yes.
I personally am a trifold. My wife is a square fold. She just does all laundry now.
That's one way to do
it.
So
were you guys working a lot of projects to get like the same projects, or were they? No. He no, there wasn't a ton of overlap at all. Yeah, there was some, right? There was, like, we both had Dreamsicle stuff. We both had like Desert Ghost multi-recessive stuff. But he was a lot deeper into like the DG Clown Pie project and the Xanthic DG Clown project than I was, whereas I was way deeper in Ultramel. Like the Ultramel Clown project and the Ultramel Clown Pie project, like just for some examples. So there wasn't a ton of overlap, so that helped quite a bit with the merger. And where there was overlap, it was still, relatively speaking, pretty distinct. So even that wasn't a problem.
So from where you were before and to what you are now, how many clutches are you planning on running for the next breeding season?
Yeah, so if we're counting, like, right now, we'll probably hit around 120 to 130 clutches. We were hoping for closer to 200, but we moved Andre's old collection, at the end of last season to the new building, and they just really did not like the move. So we haven't gotten nearly the production percentage we were hoping for. So I'm guessing probably by the end of 2024, we'll be sitting right around 120 clutches, maybe 150. Next season, we should, like, assuming everything is like, actually producing at a normal percentage, I would guess it's going to be closer to 250. It's going to be a big jump from this year to next year, just because like we've got a bunch of stuff that's like up to size. His stuff should be, his old stuff should all be producing. My stuff is producing. So yeah, somewhere in that range.
That's awesome. But like compared, like I watched a lot of your videos before we talked, and I know you were saying around the 100 to 150 was your comfort zone, and you've definitely said, fuck comfort. I'm going for it.
Yeah. So, originally before like the talk of mergers and all of that stuff, for me personally, I think like 100 to 150 clutches for like one person, where you're not just trying to make obscene amounts of money or whatever, or you're not having to deal with just volume. I think that's a doable number with a couple of employees, and you roll with it.
Yeah. 150 clutches?
Yeah.
It's a doable. That's a lot of fucking babies.
Okay.
What the fuck? How much meth are you smoking over there? Like, what is wrong with you?
You got that good Xylordan.
Yeah, I got the good shit. I think and this kind of goes back, Andre and I are very good at the optimization side of things. Everything is like down to a T. And so like, honestly, like 150 clutches isn't really a problem at this point.
How many employees?
Just Andre and I, and then we have one person that washes tubs. Like, she doesn't like spot clean, she washes tubs. And then we have Molly doing social media. That's it. And it's not like, honestly, like that's very, very easy at this point. Like it's work, it's effort, but it's not, we're not dying at all.
But there's no other career involved, right? Other than the guidance, the guiding, and then the teaching that you do as a doctor.
Yeah, right. So Andre does this like 100% full time.
Okay.
I have I have a position at the university that's very flexible. So I'm only on site at the university on Wednesdays. The rest of my work can be done whenever. I don't really sleep. It's a problem. I only sleep like 4 or 5 hours a night. I wish it was more. Like, I would give anything to sleep. But so for me, like, I take care of animal stuff throughout the day, and then my wife goes to bed around 10:30, and then I do like any university work that I have to do from like 11 to like 2 or 3 in the morning. So I'm able to just kind of function that way and make everything work. But yeah, man, like 100.
That sounds right.
It's lots of meth. That's what you gotta do. Yeah, but really, like I said, 150 clutches really, like, once you get optimized and you got a system going, it's really not too bad. Once you're getting into like 300-400 clutches, you're gonna need a couple of employees. But even that, honestly, like, you could probably still do with like 1 or 2 people. You could probably do 200 clutches.
I can see the where you were saying 250 clutches, no problem, with consulting, with running your business, with your podcast, with doing these dumb fart joke shows and everything else you do. I can see how you got nothing but time. I'm sure date nights with your wife are riveting.
Okay, so I have a friend I went to grad school with who's a professor out in Chicago now, and I called him, I don't know, right when we were starting late to the mic, and I'm talking to him, and he's like, "How are things going?" I was like, "Oh, I'm starting a podcast," and he's like, and he just went silent. He's like, "With all that free time you have?" And I was like, "Well, we're gonna do it at 10 p.m. on Thursday nights," and he was like, "Huh, was that like the only window available?" And I'm like, "I don't know, maybe. Just, why are you bullying me?" So yeah, I mean, clearly I have nothing but free time, guys, so it's fine. I'm fortunate that the hobby I enjoy doing is like work, and like it's weird, my hobby is making money. and so because of that, like that's one of the things that drives me. So like it doesn't feel like it's that busy. Like when people ask like, are you busy? Like a lot of times my answer is like, no, like I've got time. Like what do you need? You know, I try to be there for people, which is not always a good thing because a lot of times I don't actually have time, and I probably shouldn't say that, but I do. But in my mind, I'm like, no, I've got more time. It's okay. I don't have to sleep tonight. We're good. Or you know, I can postpone this slightly and do it later, whatever. So yeah, I feel like I have way more time than I do.
You're about I don't know 6 weeks from divorce. Is that right?
So fortunately, my wife is very similar to me in the work mantra side of things, and so it works well. We do have like designated periods throughout the week that are like no work allowed. So like, you know, Tuesdays after I drop Snakes off at FedEx, that's like no more work, no more messages, no more anything. We go on like date nights. Most Sundays I'm very like from the morning till bedtime, like it's our time. We don't do a lot unless like we absolutely have to and it's like pre-scheduled. But yeah, no, we have to like make sure that you're not, you know, neglecting each other because she is the same way I am where she'll work nonstop. I think it helps too, like because like my work for the university is, you know, it's basically all just computer work. And a lot of what she does can be done on the computer. And so like sometimes it's just like we'll go and sit on the couch and work while like watching TV together, right? And so it's that quality time just together. And I think that helps too, you know, making sure that at least that's happening. So
I'm just saying your wife's tolerant.
You're a doctor and you're a millionaire now.
Yeah. It's
What's
weird.
Your golf handicap?
It's about a 14. If I played more, I think I could get it down to like a 12 or 11. But yeah, it's around a 14. Last time I played. Yeah, when I was playing.
29. I've been golf for about 6 weeks now.
Nice. Okay, so, that's not bad. Honestly, for 6 weeks, being able to even be like, it's around a 29, you at least can get through a round of golf. Like that's not bad.
That's with a broken knee and a
okay.
I literally have a broken kneecap and I have
Jesus.
That thing is so fucked up.
A broken flexor tendon here in the finger.
Jesus, that's rough. Yeah,
I'm sucking it up. But
dude, I love it.
If we ever get around each other, then we need to go play a round of golf.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love golf. I play basketball. I skateboard. I do a lot of stupid shit. So
I actually broke my knee playing basketball.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was 3/4 drunk, and we were saying, "Hey, dudes."
Patrick's a point guard.
Yeah. Reggie and I are gonna try and get a USARC charity basketball game going for like the Tinley Park shows. Awesome. We've talked about it a few times. I figure if Antoine can get men sweaty and rolling on floors together, we can get basketball going, right?
Yes.
My wife told me to stop doing dumb shit, but now you're making me want to do more dumb shit after.
I love it. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, but I represent.
It. Well, we all make mistakes in life.
We all make mistakes.
Are you sad that Calipari's gone? That's the real question.
No, I'm not. Not at all. I fucking hated John Calipari.
That's fair. He was good at recruiting, he just couldn't win a game. But anyway.
In fact, we'll talk offline.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll do Kentucky sports radio later. No one else gives two shits.
So any more advice that you would say to anybody that's doing now the 15 minutes of lame there, because there's a lot of lamers out there.
Yeah.
What suggestion would you make to them to do or how to use this to benefit them to try to get their name out there the best way possible?
Yeah, network. So you Chris Eaton now knows your name, and the other lame people probably know your name. So like use that opportunity, right? Use the reach out to Chris, and if there's a certain breeder that you want to specifically talk to and you have a reason to talk to, reach out to Chris and be like, hey, do you mind doing a warm handoff and like introducing me to this person? I will die on the hill that the thing that has made me as successful as we have been in this industry is networking. Before I bred a single snake, I was going to shows and introducing myself and like all but forcing people to be my friend. And I think that is far and away the most important thing you do, because if people know who you are, they're more likely to find you when they're trying to buy snakes, because they're going to go look at your shit first. Chris, I'm willing to bet the reason Chris had me on his show is because I was friends with Justin and JT. And one of those people probably said something nice about me to Chris, and Chris was probably like, "Oh, okay, like this guy must be for real then." I don't think it was necessarily anything crazy I was producing at that very moment. I mean, I was successful, but I don't think it was like a level where I think Chris would have initially noticed me. So, yeah, I would say use the network that you now have. You now are a part. You've now been vetted and quote unquote good enough to at least be on a podcast, and because of that, like use that network that you're now a part of. Go to shows even and be like, hey, I was on 15 Minutes of Lame, and talk to those people or whatever. Like use that. That is now your currency. Because most likely, it's really hard to not get drowned out in the animals at this point. Everybody's producing a lot of really crazy cool stuff, and unless you're constantly producing bangers, it's hard to really get noticed on a large scale. Your small scale groups of people will notice you, but the large scale may not notice. So I think it's more important to just get to shows and network with people, or even like Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Just use that as currency.
Chris, you got anything for him?
No, I'm pretty a lot of information tonight. So.
Paul?
It's information overload. It was good. It was
Yes.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, no, guys.
On a Sunday.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This is a blast. I love it.
So
It's a good time.
the one thing I want to do is just anybody who's out there that needs any help, Patrick through Chimera does with Andre consulting.
Yeah.
Reach out to them. If anybody can make your business a success, these guys are the ones that are going to do it. They're reasonable. They're good people. As long as you're not asking Patrick for a whole bunch of pictures, he won't tell you to choke on a cactus. But reach out to them.
Oh man.
I told you, I watched a lot of shit.
So good. Go deep throat a cactus. That might have been my finest customer service moment ever. I would literally rather deep throat a cactus than sell you a snake. God, that was a good moment. I don't regret it for a moment.
But in all honesty, like this guy has done an amazing job. He's marketed himself well. He's done exceptional things in 5 years. So reach out to him. And if you have any questions about your business, they will steer you in the right direction. They are the ones to definitely push you to that next level.
Where can we reach out to you on that if you want to shout that out?
Yeah, so we're Chimera Reptiles everywhere. So YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. If I'm just gonna be completely honest, guys, like if y'all message, like I'm bad at getting back to just messages in general. Molly goes through and like make sure that I'm responding to stuff. But like if you message me, there's like a 3% chance you're gonna get back to me same day. So like just be aware. If you want to buy a snake, don't message me on Instagram. Just message on the Morph Market ad, because Andre will respond immediately and you'll get the snake. If you message me on Instagram, it may get sold before I even talk to you. So if you're interested in a snake, please, for the love of God, just message on Morph Market or send an email to sales@chimerareptiles.com.
By the way, Andre handles sales.
Yeah, guys, unsurprisingly, because he responds to messages, Andre handles sales. So please, for the love of God, message on Morph Market.
Gentlemen,
But
Patrick.
Yeah.
Cutting out, but yeah, we'll clap for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we're clapping.
No.
The doctor is in the house, and we had an amazing time.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
we do appreciate you coming on.
Up, man.
Oh yeah, no, thanks for having me. I know y'all were a little worried when I only showed up with 5 minutes to spare, which was humorous. I wasn't trying to stress y'all out, I promise. So it's good.
We're gonna get Shauna, just kick you backstage. Just hold on a few minutes. We're gonna
you're good.
just wrap this up, and we'll come back and see you.
Yeah, thanks again,
Thank you
guys.
very
Have a good one. Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
Patrick.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Snakes in the Batman proudly brings to you its new breeder segment, 15 Minutes of Lame!
Look, I'm just saying, this Sky High Morphs guy or girl, whether it's Brian or Holly or Brian and Holly, they are friggin' trying to get some brownie points. So
They
don't
are
forget
all over the
my
place.
one white friend, my one black friend tonight. What time is that going on?
They left out the important part.
10 o'clock. 10
I
o'clock.
didn't leave off the important part.
We'll make sure to mention.
Spelling my name right.
But no, it's really hard to imagine that somebody could piss Patrick off that much to tell him to go deep through a cactus. Like, what were they asking? Like,
He was super awesome and super chill. I was not expecting that from somebody his caliber, and
Made it very easy.
It was amazing. It really was. It was a
he-
very insightful episode.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
and people actually have information there that they can steal from that and use it to their advantage. Push their projects, push their businesses, get their ideas. Like he's not giving you the keys to the kingdom by any means, but he's definitely giving you a little bit of insight in a short podcast that you can come out and see what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and how he made it work for him.
And if you like it, then go, subscribe to him, follow Chimera, and
If you're not already.
if you really want to make this work, then solicit their help and get to where you need to be.
So before we get too far, before we say our goodbyes, I want to do our lamest fact. So let me get to that. Lamest fact. Season 2 marks an increase from 10 contestants to 22 contestants per year, allowing for more aspiring breeders at a chance at greatness.
That's impressive.
That is pretty fucking wild. Yeah.
So you got to think about it. If you're one of the lucky 22 contestants, you have an opportunity at greatness.
Great.
I feel greater just being part of the show.
10 to 22 is pretty good.
I have a big fact right now, and it's I'm out of beer, I'm out of dip, and I got to pee.
That was
So
three
with that
facts.
time,
That's your way of telling us that we're going to say that you should tune in to my one black friend, my one white friend at 10 o'clock tonight on this channel. And
10, a fucking 10.
fucking 10. I think we should steal that clip and put it.
you don't have to go home.
10.
Yeah.
So everybody, take your hour and a half break, enjoy it, and come back at 10
We'll see.
to watch the Fat Man, and he's got some funny fucking segments on that show. So I hope you guys come back. Thanks for everybody for coming out, and we'll get Shauna to sing us off. Thanks, guys.